Hello again, and today we have Rebel vs Imperial. We have Blair playing Hamish. Now, Blair will be playing Chewbacca with Han Solo crew, C-3PO and Draw Their Fire. Hobie Clivian with R3A2 and Biggs Darklighter. Hamish will be flying Echo with Advanced Cloaking Device and Veteran Instincts, Royal Guard Pilot, which push limit and hull upgrade, and Bounty Hunter with Reconnaissance Specialist. Now, I do apologise for some of the language in this particular video. We were playing at home in a very casual setting, and a few occasions where a few choice dice rolls were rolled, so be advised. So here we go, as per usual, all set up. Our fancy Death Star map. I know that a few people have previously stated they don't particularly like this map, and indeed I wasn't overly happy with it. It's quite hard to see some of the asteroids on some occasions, and indeed if anyone feels the need, leave a comment at the bottom. Yeah, just going through the motions. First set of manoeuvres, particularly with any list piloting Echo or Whisper for that matter, tends to be a bit of jockeying for position in the first couple of turns. So yeah, obviously the Bounty Hunter just leading out, followed by the entire Rebel team, as they are all PS5. They're all flying after the Bounty Hunter but before the Royal Guard pilot, so just flying as fast as they can down the edge of the board there. And here we have Royal Guard pilot indeed trying to shoot as far forward as possible. Hamish there obviously on the first manoeuvre, just managing to fluff it up a little bit, but not really going to make too much of an issue. He's just resetting there. And just as obviously for your interceptor, fairly standard to perform a banked boost as your action on the first turn. And then again with the TIE Phantom, Echo here doing a 4 straight, and will obviously perform a cloak as his action, or her action, as the case may be. Many conversations on the AFFG forums as to the gender of Echo and or Whisper these days. So here we go, second turn, and in a vain attempt to draw me in, Hamish's Bounty Hunter turning away and hoping to pull me around some asteroids and get his Royal Guard pilot and Echo to flank me if possible. So obviously, yeah, just flying in there using Reconnaissance Specialist to take a couple of focus tokens. And here we have Hobie and Biggs banking in. And in vain attempting to see if a target lock can be had, but clearly well out of range on that one. As many more times this video, I'll probably check for range with Hamish disagreeing, but all in good fun. So there we go, obviously having Chewie and Biggs come in. Now Biggs is just going to bump a little bit there, just trying to get position. Obviously action denied this turn, but more than likely not going to be relevant anyway. So here we have Royal Guard pilot, again just trying to decide what he's going to be doing, and just obviously heading towards that asteroid, so just banking away, again trying to further flank around me, and again pretty sure that Hamish here is just going to do a 1 bank boost to get a bit more angle and hopefully flank Hobie and Biggs in the next turn or two. And here we have excuse me, Echo will be deciding what he will be doing very, very shortly. Just a bit of debate going on as to not quite sure, unfortunately. Hamish for some reason seems to be taking his time today, but just obviously these two particular lists there we go, just deciding to do a barrel roll instead of his boost, and then actually pushing the limit to boost after the fact, and taking the stress for his troubles. And as I say, these two lists, this particular Rebel list I've won a couple of tournaments with recently, well, when I say recently, prior to Wave 4, so I thought I would try it out against a relatively stock standard Phantom list sort of flying around these days. And there we go, Eco making his manoeuvre, not decloaking that turn, just doing a normal manoeuvre and barrel rolling for his action. And there we go, jumping to the next set of dials. So here we have Bounty Hunter, again further trying to draw me across the battlefield, managing to fly a fairly decent distance, but just going to bang into the back of Echo. But again, short of some miraculous flying, it's unlikely that I'll be able to shoot at the Bounty Hunter this turn, so not having an action, not so relevant. So in this particular instance, did actually have to drive the YT or Chewbacca around the asteroid, not ideal. Not being able to get range obviously to get a target lock, so just taking focus. But here we have Hobie banking in. Wanted to do the 3 bank to maybe get range, just not out of range again, but would have landed on the asteroid for the 3 bank. So here we have Hobie and Biggs just doing a 2 bank each. Biggs slotting in nicely there next to Hobie, and both of them taking a focus. Quite likely that there will be an engagement with, at the very least, a Royal Guard pilot and possibly Eco this turn as well. So here we go with the Royal Guard. He is going to just do another gentle bank there, and just shedding stress obviously from pushing the limit the previous turn. So just a 2 bank, and just deciding what his action is going to do. More than likely it will be the one bank boost, and indeed there we go. Just ever so carefully managing to make it around that asteroid. Some very astute flying there from Hamish, and just deciding whether he wants to push the limit, whether he wants to focus or barrel roll, I believe. Just a bit of debate. I think, yep, there we go. Just deciding, excuse me, deciding to go with the focus, and obviously taking the stress from the push the limit. So we just had a quick cut there. There was about 5 minutes of debate as to what Echo's move would be. Obviously we're doing a little bit of testing for an upcoming tournament, so most of that was somewhat irrelevant to the video, so I've cut that out. Just marking up the Bounty Hunter here so that Echo's decloak can happen. I'm just going to move him out of the way, and then we have Echo decloaking around the asteroid. And then performing his manoeuvre. Now unfortunately, again for many people, this is one of Hamish's first times flying with Echo, and probably didn't quite do the manoeuvre he thought, or had sort of intended, and didn't manage to get an arc this turn. So obviously they're having to cloak as his action, because he won't be able to trigger the advanced cloaking device this turn. So here we have shots leading into the first attack, and we've got obviously Echo not firing, so Royal Guard pilot attacking Biggs there, range 2. So spending the focus for a couple of hits, and as Biggs is prone to do, he rolls 2 blanks, unfortunately, so that's 2 shields from Biggs there. Not looking good for Biggs, unfortunately, but anyway, we'll move on. So here we have return fire from my ships. So we have range on Eco with both Biggs and Hobie. So just double checking, it is range 3, so it's going to be 3 dice with 3 focus dice, attack dice versus 4 unfocused defense dice. So here we have Hobie shooting first, I believe, and just rolling 2 damage. Now that would be Hamish rolling 3 blanks, a focus and a dodge, so Hobie managing to squeeze 1 damage through there. Though unfortunately an error on my behalf. It's a perfect opportunity to use R3A2, but I forgot to do so, so hopefully it won't affect the game later. And here we have Biggs, again Biggs firing on the Eco, spending the focus for 2 hits, and again Hamish rolling a lot of blanks and just 1 evade, so taking the last shield off of Eco. So 2 shields from Echo and 2 shields from Biggs that turn. I think that was a victory for the Rebels. Let's see, here we have the bounty hunter coming around the asteroids, and obviously reconnaissance specialist, just getting a couple of focus tokens there. And here we have Chewbacca coming around the asteroid, doing his 2 turn, and just being cheeky, but actually managing to just be in range for a target lock on Eco. Not quite on the bounty hunter, but manages to pick up a target lock on Eco. So just squeaking into range, and then we'll have Hobie and Biggs. Now the plan here was to push up as far as possible, so that the Royal Guard and Echo will fly around behind Eco and Hobie. So here we have Hobie performing a 3 bank and deciding to take a target lock on the bounty hunter, as I said, with the intention that hopefully Echo and the Royal Guard will fly past and not be able to shoot at Hobie and Biggs this turn. I can put a whole bunch of shots into the bounty hunter, and here we have obviously Biggs doing a 2 bank, flying in beside his wingman Hobie on this one, and then we'll have obviously Biggs just taking target lock there, and then we'll have the Royal Guard pilot perform his manoeuvre. So just flipping over the dial here for Hamish, and performing a green manoeuvre, so removing the stress. So just performing a 2 bank there. And, just some debate as to doesn't quite have arc on Hobie, or Biggs for that matter, obviously. So debate whether or not he can barrel roll and boost to create an arc on either of those ships. There is an asteroid. Again, the map's not the easiest to see, but there is an asteroid just to the left of the interceptor. Just seeing Hamish trying to visualise whether or not the barrel rolling backwards and then boosting on the 1 bank will actually give him the arc. So he does in fact decide that is the course of action, so just performing the barrel roll there and just snugly sliding back as far as he can go just before touching the asteroid. So he performs his barrel roll and indeed then decides to perform his boost. He will take a stress for that. Unfortunately for Hamish, he did not manage to get a line of sight on Biggs and not on Hobie either. So Interceptor will be shooting, just checking whether that's an obstructed view there, not checking range or anything. And here we have Echo performing decloaking. Now just carefully deciding what he's going to do, as it certainly appears that again, having not flown Echo a lot, decided to perform a K-turn as his manoeuvre, just deciding whether or not where he needs to be to try and decloak and K-turn in behind Biggs at range 1. Unfortunately for Hamish, the decision to do the 4K not the best, as it turns out, and ends up flying straight into his interceptor, and will unfortunately be facing the wrong way and will be stressed, which is never a good place for a TIE Phantom to be, unfortunately. And indeed, fallen right into my trap at range 2 of Chewbacca, who happens to have a target lock on him, so not so good for Echo there. So obviously, once again, we have Echo not firing this turn, and just going through the motions here with regards to if he'd managed to decloak backwards as far as he possibly can, there was a small chance that he may have actually been able to perform the K-turn, but as such didn't manage to make it regardless. So on to shooting. So we'll have the Interceptor, obviously with no shots on the 2 X-Wings. He will be firing at Chewbacca at range 2, but it will be through an asteroid, I believe. Maybe not. So we're just checking to make sure he doesn't have arc on Hobie there. Clearly he wasn't, and then indeed is range excuse me, range 2 of Chewbacca there. And just having a bit more discussion as to how C-3PO works. Obviously it doesn't have to be used until the attack dice is rolled, so he just scoring a hit, a crit and a focus, so 2 damage on the line, and just rolling a blank there and taking some damage. So here we go, we have return fire. So we have Chewbacca firing at the Phantom and scoring a hit, or critical as it were, and that particular critical is the one that denies you from using your actions. So no advanced cloaking and no other actions. Obviously it does give you the ability to roll an attack dice, and on a hit you may flip the card face down, but again, further troubles for Echo in this game. And then here we have Hobie attacking the bounty hunter, and remembering to use R3A2 this time, so stressing himself to stress the bounty hunter, and scoring a hit into eyeballs, but spending the target lock to re-roll the dice, and of course removes the stress from Hobie with his special ability, and indeed scoring no more hits. But as life would have it, we've rolled 2 blanks from the bounty hunter, so 1 shield falling off of the bounty hunter, and then just double checking range for Biggs to be firing, and Biggs somewhat foolishly decides to spend his focus on attack, and indeed manages to score one more hit. But here we have the Bounty Hunter returning fire on Biggs, and again managing to dodge the damage, thankfully. So here we go, back to dials, and we have the Bounty Hunter obviously stressed from Hobie, so just performing a gentle one bank to de-stress, and obviously reconnaissance specialist for 2 focus tokens. And then probably not the best decisions. I had thought that the Bounty Hunter might have been a bit further ahead, and attempting to perform a couple of K turns. So Hobie here manages to just squeak in and make his K turn. So he will be stressed. Unfortunately, won't have a target lock to spend. However, Biggs attempting to do the same thing, but clearly going to crash into the Bounty Hunter. So Biggs just going to fly straight ahead on that manoeuvre and take a stress, which is never ideal for Biggs, particularly in the sense that he won't be able to fire this turn. And then of course we have Chewbacca just doing a one turn there, just trying to outsmart the interceptor. Hopefully he'll wanting to crash into him, but unfortunately being too tight, it was managing to land on an asteroid and indeed rolling a damage. So not good. As you see, Hamish just showing there that it was very, very close, just by about a couple of millimeters sitting on that asteroid. So 2 ships that will not be shooting this turn, so not ideal. Here we have the TIE Interceptor, and unfortunately Chewie's valiant attempt to block the Interceptor not quite successful, and the Interceptor just managing to nip around to the other side of Chewbacca there, and obviously performing a green manoeuvre to remove a stress. And Hamish just deciding whether he wants to push into range 1 or whether he performs any other actions. Obviously there's a possibility that he will get shot back at and re-stressed from Hobie, but it's never ideal. But it does indeed push forward into range 1 of Biggs, so he will obviously just take a push the limit as well and take a, I believe it was an evade token, possibly stress. So here we have obviously just Echo performing a green manoeuvre to shed the stress from his failed K turn, activating or choosing to roll a dice to as his action to try and get rid of the critical, but unfortunately failing to do so. So unfortunately, as much as Chewbacca wants to shoot at Echo at range 2 there without a cloaking device or a focus, the Echo is safe today, for now at least. So here we have the Royal Guard pilot at range 1 on Biggs, just scoring a couple of hits, and again Biggs taking a critical damage there, and reducing, I believe it was the one that reduces his primary attack value, but obviously he's not going to be shooting this turn anyway. So yeah, just deciding what Hobie's going to do, whether he wants to stress to return fire. I believe the decision was not to stress once again, but obviously shooting at range 1 of the interceptor, so we have 2 hits, and just managing to score 1 hit on the sorry, it was actually shooting at the Bounty Hunter at range 1, just with an arc. So indeed managed to take another shield off of the Bounty Hunter. And here we have the Bounty Hunter firing back at Hobie, just a very, very close range 1. scoring 4 hits on that one, and Hobie rolling 2 eyeballs. So we have both shields and 2 damage on Hobie, so just about gone from full health down to 1 health. So here we go, on to the next manoeuvres. We have the bounty hunter going first, obviously. So just flipping the dial and helping Hamish move the ship. So just obviously a couple of stressed X-wings there, so obviously doesn't want to move the bounty hunter too far away, so just a 1 straight there with the reconnaissance specialist. Then we have Chewbacca vacating his asteroid, just doing a nice gentle 1 bank there, and obviously the Echo's not going to be decloaking, so he's not going to get far, and I might be able to catch him on the hop. So he takes a target lock on the Phantom, and then obviously we've got Hobie and Biggs to move. So here we have Biggs stressed and then going in the wrong direction, but just trying to get away from the interceptor and trying to get to range 3 of the bounty hunter, so performs a desperate 3 turn, obviously remaining stressed, but hoping to not get shot at by the Royal Guard pilot. So obviously just moving Hobie there just to make sure that we can get Biggs through, and then putting Hobie back, and obviously Hobie shedding his stress and just performing a straight 2 on that one, and deciding that just debating as to whether to take a focus or a target lock. The thought here was that the bounty hunter would probably have to shoot at Biggs, and hopefully the Royal Guard wouldn't have a shot, so tried to do some action economy and decided to end up taking a target lock on the interceptor. Just mulling through the options obviously, but yes indeed in the end deciding to go with the target lock. And then unfortunately Hamish, predicting this particular manoeuvre, flew 2 straight with his interceptor and right into range 1 of Biggs without any focus, so that's going to end very poorly for Biggs, and well, assuming he can actually take Biggs out, then the bounty hunter gets free rein at Hobie, so let's see what happens. But here we have obviously just Hamish making his final decisions as to what his actions are going to be in this particular instance, and I think it was just a focus in the end. So here we have the final manoeuvre, which is Echo, and again just doing what he possibly can to try and get away from or at least to range 3 from Chewie, knowing that he won't be able to get a cloak token this turn. Obviously his action will be consumed by the critical that is telling him that he doesn't have any actions. So Hamish again will roll a dice to try and turn that particular critical face down. Just some further debate there, and again rolling a blank. So once again Echo without any further actions for the rest of the turn, obviously. So on to firing. So obviously Echo can't fire, so we have the Royal Guard at range 1 of Biggs, and rolling some damage, but again Biggs coming up blank. So Biggs there taking, what do we got, 3 damage I believe it was, and dying horribly. here we have Hobie being shot at, but I think Chewbacca was obviously supposed to shoot first, but obviously that was the bounty hunter shooting at Hobie, and again Hobie not dealing any damage. And yeah, we just remembered that Chewbacca obviously has to shoot, so just using Han Solo effect to change the focus tokens, spending a target lock as a focus, and scoring the last damage on Echo. So 3 ships off the board in 1 turn, and as we were just discussing, poor old Echo didn't actually fire a shot in anger the entire game, so sometimes it's very hard to make the most of Echo's unique ability, but we live and learn. So here we have Chewbacca staring down a relatively healthy bounty hunter and a Royal Guard pilot. So obviously the bounty hunter just moved, avoiding the table edge, and just moved a 2-turn. And there we have Chewbacca predicting that maneuver and pushing as a 3 bank into the rather wide blind spot of the fire spray. And obviously his action will be to target lock the Royal Guard interceptor. Now obviously stressed, so he's going to have to do a green maneuver, and clearly not wanting to stay out of the flight, ends up doing a 2-turn straight in towards the YT 1300. So obviously shedding the stress there, but actions will be focus and an evade plus the stress token obviously. So Royal Guard shooting at range 1 at Chewbacca, and I believe spending the focus there for 4 hits. So deciding to be a gambling man, I believe I named 1 dodge and with C-3PO, and clearly missed, so taking 4 damage, so removing the last 3 shields from Chewbacca and taking damage, which was rather bad timing for Chewie. So there we have Chewie firing back and indeed rolling 4 straight hits. Oh, actually 1 was critical, with the interceptor rolling some eyeballs and not enough to dodge the critical, which was the minor hull breach, which, as it turned out, it wasn't minor hull breach, it was the blinded pilot, whichever critical reduces the pilot skill to 0. So there we have the interceptor moving first, and just flying around into the interceptor, into the YT there. And here we have the fire spray, obviously predicting that the YT is going to fly around behind the interceptor, just doing a gentle 1 bank to get his arc active, and just a real reconnaissance specialist to get his 2 focus. And here we have Chewbacca, obviously still having not spent the target lock last turn, still having a target lock, just performing a 1 tight turn and managing to get past the interceptor. So obviously the interceptor in big trouble. So we have range 1, so we as I said, just rolled 4 straight up hits once more, and not surviving, taking a hit and a crit, and indeed the crit being a bunch of extra damage. So the interceptor goes up in a ball of smoke. So here we have 1v1. We've got Chewbacca packing C-3PO versus the bounty hunter with recon specialist. Both ships have 7 hit points left. Obviously Chewbacca is immune to criticals. And there we have the range 3 shot from the bounty hunter, then spending the focus to avoid taking any damage. So here we have some manoeuvres, both ships obviously facing away from each other this turn, so just banking back and around for the bounty hunter, and again 2-turn for Chewbacca, but will be out of range for a target lock and indeed no firing. So on to the next set of manoeuvres. Quick smart. So here we have the bounty hunter just performing a three bank there. Possibly not the best of manoeuvres from Hamish. Good chance that assuming my ship does a bank even, he may not get arc. Just checking to see if he can get a target lock, and indeed taking the target lock. Oh no, sorry, taking a recon specialist is out of range for the target lock. Just saying that obviously if there is a good chance that he doesn't get a shot this turn, then obviously the target lock was the preferred option to be able to fire with lock and focus next turn. And indeed with Chewbacca flight just doing a gentle 2-bank and target locking the bounty hunter, and indeed just checking arc there, and yes, the bounty hunter will not be shooting this turn, so Chewbacca gets to fire on the bounty hunter without any return fire this turn. Let me just have grabbing some attack dice from Hamish. So here we have Chewbacca firing at the bounty hunter at range 2. And just scoring 3 naked hits. So here we go, the reconnaissance specialist spending a focus, so managing to avoid 2 damage, but indeed removing the last shield. Here we on to the next set of manoeuvres, and just a straight forward there from the bounty hunter with the reconnaissance specialist. Obviously Chewbacca didn't spend the target lock from the last turn with the 3 natural hits. And again, just debating the merits of target lock and the recon specialist, or the obvious other option with the bounty hunter is the evade token. During the course of the rest of the game, it became apparent that whenever whenever it was likely that Chewbacca would be in range 2 or less of the bounty hunter, then the evade token was actually preferable. However, whenever he was at range 3, then the recon specialist and focus tokens were actually the better choice. So here we have focus, so spending the target lock as a lock, and then spending the focus there, so scoring scoring some damage there, spending the lock and the focus, but managing to get a hit and a critical, of which the critical was just to give a stress and then turn it face down, so 2 damage. So the hull points in favour of Chewbacca with 7 versus the 4 remaining hull points of the bounty hunter. So here we have the bounty hunter firing back, obviously, and Chewbacca taking 2 damage, so dropping to 5 hit points, so it's 5 to 4. So we have on to the next set of dials. It's a real game of cat and mouse over the last few turns here. So here we have the bounty hunter, obviously stressed from the critical, taking a 1-bank, and here we have Hamish deciding what the right option is. As I said, several debates as to whether or not to take the recon specialist or the evade token that is available to the bounty hunter or the fast spray in general. I believe in the end this particular turn he does take the evade token after many possible options and computations, as it were. So there we go, here's the evade token. And here we have the ever predictable 2-turn from the YT. Oh, sorry, it was a 3-bank. There was an asteroid there in the way, I believe. So again, taking the target lock just to try and maximise the Han Solo crew card. So here we have Chewbacca firing first once again, and indeed spending the target lock as a focus for 3 hits, and managing to roll 2 naked evades as well as his evade token, so managing to avoid taking any damage. And there we have the Bounty Hunter firing back with, I believe, one hit, and obviously using C-3PO to name 0 hits and rolling 0 hits, unsurprisingly, so getting a free dodge, so no damage to either ship in that particular turn. So here we have the Bounty Hunter just doing a 2-turn, sneaking inside the adjacent asteroid off to its left, and again more debate as to whether or not the 2-turn from the inevitable 2-turn from the YT-1300 will get him into range 2 or 3, and as to whether or not to take the 2 focus tokens or the evade token. Obviously much discussion as to whether or not the Bounty Hunter can deal enough damage. It's a very even match as it turns out. So obviously here we have Chewbacca doing the 2-turn and taking the target lock. So just double checking the range there, and it was indeed range 2, so taking the evade token was the correct call for Hamish. So again, using Han Solo's ability to turn the focus token into a hit, so managing to squeeze 1 more damage through there from the onto the Bounty Hunter. So there we have a couple of hits from the Bounty Hunter, and again rolling blanks on Chewie, but and again really shouldn't be gambling, as I'm saying there, shouldn't be gambling with Chewbacca. So with the C-3PO effect, so taking 2 hits, and indeed Chewie in a rather precarious position with only 3 hull points, so three hull points each. So here we have the Bounty Hunter trying to maximise distance, trying to get to range 3 where it's at an advantage for the Bounty Hunter. So obviously at this point taking a reconnaissance specialist for 2 focus, 1 defense and 1 for attack, obviously. And as much as the YT comes around with the 3 bank, can't quite get back into range 2. So the question here is whether or not a focus for me is actually more relevant, and the decision was that it is actually safer. So here we have rolling a hit, an eyeball and a blank, and deciding whether or not the focus to spend the focus is correct or not. So indeed spending the focus, and there we go. Obviously the one of the reconnaissance specialist focused avoiding damage. We have return fire from the excuse me, and there we go, taking another damage. So Chewbacca is not looking too good on the last 2 health, and the Bounty Hunter obviously with 3 health still. And then we have the Bounty Hunter just doing a 2 forward. I wasn't quite sure if it was far enough. Obviously the YT can't perform a 4 forward because of the asteroid, so again we'll perform the 3 bank, and it does manage to get into range 2 this time, and really mulling it over, deciding that Chewie's rather a bit too precariously low on life, so really have to go for the attack on this one. And indeed, just checking there, it does manage to squeeze into range 2. So here we have again trying to decide whether to spend as a focus, deciding to roll as a focus. So we have a hit and a crit. So here we have 3 hull points left, a damage, and the critical is, as it turns out, the direct hit and double damage and victory. So there we go, Chewbacca chasing down the Bounty Hunter in the nearest of victories. One of the closest games I've ever played, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. Clearly, my previous Rebel list that I've been flying to great success, not quite as good anymore. I mean, it was the game was very, very close. But when you factor in that Echo didn't fire a single shot, I believe that my list is a little bit outdated, and I think that had Echo managed to get any shots off, it would have been a much more different game. So maybe I'll be changing to Imperials a bit more often. Tune in for my next video, which will be more or less a mirror match of the Rebel list. Thanks again.